So I want to start off with this. I'm 33 years old. There, I said it. I'm 33 years old. I know what you're thinking. God, that's the most perfect looking 33-year-old man I've ever seen in my life. I agree. I received that. I agree. I'm glad we agree on that. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not bragging. This is my thankfulness. But I personally believe that I have the best life of anybody I've ever run across. And it's got nothing to do with me. I have lived this life. I come from a fantastic family. I have two parents that not only loved the Lord and loved me and my siblings, they love each other. I have the best family. I have the best parents. I have the best siblings. I've had just a fun life. I have great friends. When I look at my life, you guys know this about me. I'm an extrovert, okay? I love being around people. I would pay people to watch me sleep at night if I could. I love people. And one of my favorite things about hanging out with people is hearing their stories. Hearing their stories of where they've come from, what they've been through, and guess what? It's usually 9 out of 10 times because of the grace of God and what Jesus Christ can do in your life. A lot of you don't look like what you've come out of. But it always broke my heart when people share these hardships, these broken families, these tough situations, these things they didn't ask for when they were children. I literally cannot put myself in your shoes. You ever had a situation happen and you feel so bad for somebody and you're like, I literally cannot imagine. If the hardship is on a scale of 1 to 10, the hardest thing I've ever been through is a 1 on the scale compared to what some of you guys have been through. So I was asking God all these hard questions. Why has my life been so good? Why have you been so good to me? And so many good people that I know have gone through such hardship. Maybe it's coming back to you right now as you sit there. You think about your childhood. You think about the things that you should have had, that you deserved, or that were never there, or that you were never loved, fill in the blank. And I read these scriptures in the Bible like Jeremiah 29:11, for he knows the plans he has for us to prosper us, not to harm us, to give us a hope and a future. And I think of John 3:16, for God so loved the world, everyone, he so loved the world that he sent Jesus. And then I think of other verses that Jesus came to set the captives free. And I come to God and I say, why is it that there's just some people, everybody in this room can think of that one person. If they're sitting next to you, don't look at them right now, okay? Why is it some people, God, have this never-ending cycle of hardships in their life? And he started talking to me. And don't you love it when God starts talking to you, he never just gives you the answer. Okay? Well, Brian, I'll tell you why that happened. No, he came to me and he said, Brian, I want you to go and read the Old Testament. And something that God ordained from the very beginning with the Jewish people, his people that he was trying to work in their life, was this, that the parents, especially the father, but the parents needed to grab their children whenever they were of age and pray and speak a generational blessing over them. How many of you in here are parents? You have a spiritual authority, according to this book. You have a spiritual authority to shift things in the spiritual life of your children and your children's children and every generation that comes after you. You have that authority. The first example we see of this is with Adam and Eve, but I like this one. This is in Genesis chapter 22, verse 17. This is God speaking to Abraham. It said, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies. So not only when you spoke a generational blessing over your children or your grandchildren or people that you adopted, it was almost like a prophecy of this is what's going to happen in your life. I like to look at it like this. You're connecting, imagine this giant tube, okay? And it's connected to your head now when your parent prays that generational blessing over you. And these parents were coming and saying, God, send down every blessing, every destiny, every good thing that you have for my child and the steps that you've ordered for them. Send it to them and never let there be a kink in the tube. These are generational blessings. And guess what? Every single one of them came to pass. There's also things called generational curses. And they can be released as well. And what happens is a generational curse will come along your family line through whatever circumstances, and I like to think of it as it puts a kink in the tube. Instead of the tube pouring down blessings and water and stuff like that, it goes now to a drip. And it takes you on this never-ending cycle of this, my parents were like this, their parents were like this, we're like this, my children are like this, and guess what? Today, you have the authority to break that once and for all in the name of Jesus Christ. There's a story in the Bible. It starts in Genesis chapter 25. Many of you may know this story, many of you may not. This is what God brought to my mind in all this craziness of generational blessings and curses. There's a story of two brothers, okay? Jacob and Esau. Okay? It's a pretty cool story. You guys need to read it. Did you know that these two brothers were rivals from the beginning? How many of you have a sibling and it is your goal in life to beat them in absolutely everything? I've never met that man before in my life. It says that the two were fighting in the mother's womb. What does that look like? Okay? Then they're born. Esau is the firstborn. Jacob is the secondborn. But guess what? Twins. Esau comes out and Jacob comes out with Esau holding on to his foot. I'm out of that operating room if I see something like that. That's creepy. You're not going anywhere. They're rivals. You can almost see the rivalry in everything they did in life. But you have a firstborn and you have a secondborn. And in Jewish tradition, the firstborn, when the father passed away or both parents were gone, the firstborn inherited everything. So you have Esau, and he is the firstborn. And they're getting older and they're becoming young men. And long story short, Jacob comes along and tricks Esau. Esau has been working out in the field all day, and Jacob is making pizza or whatever he was making. And Esau comes in, and he says, listen, I'm dying. I've been working all day. I'm so hungry. And Jacob, being the good sibling, says, I'll make you a deal. I'll give you my food. I'll make you dinner. You give me the birthright. And he takes it. And today, some of y'all may be thinking, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. Guys, I cannot tell you the deals that my brother and I made. If I beat you in this video game, we used to literally say this, you're my slave for a month. Then it never mattered how the game ended. The game cheated me, or he cheated, or there was a fist fight, or there was a controller thrown out the window, and then Stephen come along and be like, yes, I will have my shoes cleaned today. And I was like, let's play another game. And if I lose again, I'll be your slave for 2 months. And it's this, guys, I'm 33 years old. I still have 36 years left on my slavery to my brother. Esau caves, gives up his birthright, but it wasn't just a birthright. It was the generational blessings that were waiting from God. It was the destiny. It was the destination and the path that God was going to set him on. He gets the birthright. Then Jacob takes it another step with his mother. They're in a coup together, and they're like, hey, your father Isaac, remember Isaac, the chosen one? He says he can't see very well. Make your arm kind of look hairy like Esau's and go to him and ask for his blessing. And he does. And Isaac gives him the generational blessing from the parent to the son. And it cannot be undone. And what I want to share with you this morning is Esau goes to Isaac after this. He goes to Isaac And I want you to see this. Genesis chapter 27, 38 through 41. It says, Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Please, me too, my father." Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck." Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. And he said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." Now, this is a story that's never really sat well with me, if I'm being completely honest. Because listen, I've broken down the commentaries, I've looked at the original Greek and Hebrew, and listen, there's absolutely, really, when you tie it down, no reason that Isaac shouldn't have given Esau a blessing too, even if it was a different one. But what we have here is a splinter and a fracture of a relationship between a parent and their child. And when that splinter happens in life, it can put you on this endless cycle of generational curses. You want to know what a generational curse looks like? This girl got pregnant in high school. Her daughter got pregnant in high school. Her daughter got pregnant in high school. This disease has always been in our family. Your father had it. Your mother had it. You're going to have it. Your father had this addiction. You have this addiction. Your children have this addiction. And what happens is when the enemy comes in and gives you generational curses and you take them on your back, you can't give to your children what you don't have. So you know what you end up giving them? What you do have, generational curses. There is a fracture here between a father and a son, and it puts Esau on a path in life that I personally believe God never had for him. Overnight, he becomes a bitter, hateful, unforgiving brother, and it puts him on this path. He could have been walking right next to the road of God's destiny and blessings for his life, but he still was not on the path. He goes out of his way. He marries two women that were not Jewish just to upset his parents. Life is too short to hold grudges, carry wounds, or be a victim. The only saving grace, this is the good part of the story, the only saving grace of Esau that I believe brought generational blessings back on him is many years later, he had an opportunity to kill Jacob. Hey, and Jacob deserved it. And he meets him out there with his army. And Jacob's like, all right, this is the end. I'm going to go meet my brother. I can't run from him anymore. He's got this giant army. It's going to be bad. So Jacob sends his family away, run for the hills. I'll go talk to him. And he meets Esau. And the craziest thing happens. Esau grabs him, hugs him, kisses him, and blesses him. And I believe in this moment, it reversed all those generational curses of the splinter between the two brothers. 4 things real quick, and I'm going to close. You may be thinking, well, Brian, this is great. All this deep spiritual generational blessings, generational curses. How do I break it? One way is you could ask your parents, if they're still here on this earth, to pray a blessing over you. Now look, if you're in here and you're like, well, my parents aren't Christian or that's weird, okay. But if you have Christian parents that are still on this earth and you have a good relationship with them, just call them up and be like, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, I love you. I was just wondering, will you pray just God's blessings over me? Watch how quick that generational curse breaks. Or, number 2, you can speak and pray them over your children, your teenagers. Some of you in here, guess what? You never had a chance in life, but guess what? You have the power to break the generational curse over your children. Number 3, you may be thinking, well, Brian, I don't have a relationship with my children right now. They're grown and it's a fractured, splintered relationship. Get in your prayer closet and speak God's generational blessings over your prodigals. I believe the father of the prodigal son never stopped praying and never stopped releasing blessings on his son. And you can see the evidence of that by how he reacted when he saw his son at the road. And then number 4, maybe you're in here, you're like, Brian, I never knew my parents. I don't have a relationship with them. Maybe they're gone. How do I end this never-ending dark cloud, this cycle over my life? Here's the coolest one. You can ask your Heavenly Father to break the curse and release those bowls of generational blessings and to remove the kink. Sounds like prosperity gospel, right? No, I didn't say that when you break this curse that you're going to get yachts and you're going to get Lamborghinis. I mean, I've received that. And you're going to make all this wealth overnight. But what I did say is that you would be free, and so would your future generations. Jesus took these curses at the cross.